right, guys. So I'm back. It's been a couple of days since I was able to do the videos. Had some problems. Bella's sick. So she has gone to the vet and we're not sure what's going on, but she's got some belly issues. She's kind of gassy. So, ooh, I'm throwing beads away. So we're treating her, but we're not sure what's going on. Anyway, so it's been a couple of days since I could get back to beading. Velvet is, underneath my feet again, of course. So I'm going to show you something real quick. So I finished up the first one. And so this is what it's going to look like. I decided to switch, like I was going to do this as the top and have the Shibori going up, but the more I thought about it after I folded it over, and I'll show you how I finished this in when we're done beading, I decided that I wanted this to be the top and the Shibori to be going kind of down. So I will show you how I did that. So we are up to beading the top of this one, and I'm going to keep this one here for reference. So we need to add some seed beads. So what I did was I added some light blue seed beads around there. Just a couple here and there. It's not perfect. I just kind of wanted to fill in a little bit of the space so that it was filled in with a little bit of blue around the white. And so we're going to add in a couple of blue down here. And actually, we're going to add one. Well, I'm going to add one blue. And then I'm going to do one at a time. And then I'm going to add a white crystal or a white moonstone and then a seed bead going up, because I'm going to build this in layers here. So I'm going to add a moonstone. And another seed bead. Oops, it would help if I came through the fabric. I'm like not paying attention tonight. One of my light cords, which is duct taped right now. I'm sure you'll find that hilarious. I had one of my task lights on my desk. I don't know when it got cut or chewed by bunnies, but there was a break in the wire. And so it's on right now because I've got it duct taped together and kind of bent in this weird shape so it actually works. But yeah, I need to get a new light. So I ordered one from Amazon. So I had the same kind, which is what I had before. And so, yeah, it's been a crazy couple of days. And I think I just made a big knot in that. Yes, I did. So we had to go back through this way. There we go. All right, so there's that. And then I'm going to come up here. I'm going to add some more seed beads because I do want to add a blue one. One of the big blue stones. So I'm going to do a couple of seed beads here. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to copy what I did on the other one. Mirror image of these beads right here. And I don't know if you can hear it or not because it's outside, but it's windy today. We've been getting thunderstorms. Finally, we've gotten some rain to help with the drought. And my wind chimes have been going like crazy. I'd like to see more rain. We just haven't had enough, in my opinion. All right, so I'm going to do these beads down here. And then I am going to come up right next to those beads. Actually, I'm going to tuck that down because I don't want that puffing up. So I'm going to come up in between those two beads and just lock that in place. And then go back down. So these are coming out really nice. And I know you've seen me edge, so once I get it to this stage, I'm going to go and glue on the back, which I'm going to have to, pause and wait at least an hour or so. But I'm going to glue on the backing, and then I am going to, I'll bead around and do the beading, and then we'll get back together, and I will show you how to, well, I will do some of the beading, and I'll show you how to do around where the shibori is and how to stop start. I am really liking this this blue paint on here. All right, so now I'm going to pick up, I'm just going to go in the center here, and I'm going to pick up my other coin bead and get that situated where I want it, which is going to be right about here. I want some room to do some beads and have so we're going to come up through this, around this blue bead now, and I'm going to go through the blue bead. I'm going to pick up 2 seed beads. Oops. Get out of my copper. He just wanted to go in the copper. And I'm going to set those down there, right next to and I don't know what's going on there. Okay, it's just being weird. And then I'm going to come up, not through the bead, but next to the bead. And I'm going to go through this bead, and I'm going to pick up a, I'm going to pick up a moonstone and another blue bead. So I'm going to pick up, if I can get it, moonstone and another one of those big blue beads. And I'm going to set this right down there. And it's okay if there's a little bit of a gap, because we're going to be filling that with blue seed beads and moonstones. So there we go. That's in there nicely. I'm going to come up through here. I'm just tacking down this really nice and tight. I'm going to pick up another blue seed bead, and then I'm going to go down through and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my bigger crystals and things on so that I can get my placement. And so I'm going to pick up a moonstone here, and then I'll just fill in anything I think needs something. I'll either fill in with a moonstone or a seed bead. And it doesn't have to be completely perfect, because I did not count the number of seed beads that I had to put in there. I just filled in wherever I thought I needed something. That way it is organic, and, you know, it's not completely perfectly matching this one, but the bigger stones are. So I'm going to come up back through this blue bead. The bigger stones, the crystals, the blue beads, the coin beads, those are all going to be on there matching the right number of beads, the right number, you know, so if somebody's looking, they're not going to notice that there's much of a difference. A few extra seed beads here and there, you know, going up this is really not going to change much of anything. If I don't stab myself with a needle. So I'm getting ready to do a craft fair coming up. So I've got, besides Midwest Bun Fest, I've got a craft fair, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend on the 4th. It's a music festival with craft vendors at the Proctor Center in Ohio. Proctor Center is a church retreat. So I'm doing that, and then I've got one up in Dublin, Ohio. It's called Make a Pen, Maker Pen. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's something like that, and it's that is going to be on the 19th. And then I've got Bun Fest, and so I've been hard at work trying to get my craft displays figured out. And I've been having a really tough time with trying to figure out exactly what I want to do for displays, because I've got 8x8 booth in a couple of them, and then one of them I have a 16-foot long table, and then, you know, so it's going to be kind of crazy with this, you know, the space that I have. So I'm gonna be doing some trial setups, and if you're interested, I might actually bring the camera setup downstairs onto my front porch when I do the mock setups, and kind of show you how I plan out for craft fairs in case you're interested in doing craft fairs, or figuring out, you know, ways to display jewelry if you sell it. I know that I've gone through about 9 million iterations of what I want to do before I settled on the wood displays that I have. So the jewelry stays on those displays. I never take it off unless it sells. So the jewelry just stays on the display and hangs, and it's fabulous because I can just take the displays, put them in my car, and I don't believe I just did that. I went all the way around. So I take the displays and put them in my car, and then when I go to the fair, I just open up the display and everything's set up. 5-minute setup. The biggest thing that takes the most time is setting up, literally setting up the tables, the tablecloths, and then I lay some jewelry out, some of my newer stuff that doesn't fit on my display because I've run out of space. I've actually, I set that out on the table and allow, people to, pick it up and handle it. And I'll put my multi-use, multi-wear jewelry out there. All right, so I've gotten all my bigger beads on, and that looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to fill in. I see some empty spots. So I'm just going to start out, and I'm going to work my way back from the point. I'm just going to start adding seed beads seed beads where I think I need to add a seed bead. So I'm just going to go in and down and just add one seed bead at a time. And just keep doing that until I think I have every gap filled in. There's a gap there. And so then that way, if once I filled in the gaps as much as I need to, and then see this one's a little bit bigger, so I think I'm going to fill in this one with a seed bead and a moonstone. That is, if I can get the moonstone, because it's a little bit bigger, and that'll fill in that gap. And then there's a gap here that's going to require, I think I'm going to do a seed bead and a moonstone there. And see if that will fit in there. Yep, that'll fit. And I think that looks good. Actually, one more seed bead right here, just because it looks bare right next to that coin. And I want to make sure that that coin is covered on all sides by beads. So there we go. That looks perfect. It's not quite exactly the same, but, you know, unless you're examining it up close, you'll never know. All right, so now I'm just going to finish off this by going through with my needle through the felt, which is going to get it started to being knotted. I'm going to go back through the felt again, and now I'm going to make a knot in my thread. And I have some threads there that need cut. There was a knot or something that got snagged here, and I have this loop that you probably can't really see on camera. So I went through one, and I'm going to go back through a second time and pull that tight, and that's going to be my knot. And then I'm just going to go back through the felt again, and this is all going to get glued anyways, so I'm not too worried about having multiple knots. Now, if you get strings like this, so I don't know if you can see, so I've got this loop here, and so I'm just going to cut it, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to tie it in a knot, and then I'm just going to tie it in another knot. And hello, Velvet. So, yes, one of my viewers mentioned in the comments on one of my videos that Velvet has figured out that when Mom talks to her imaginary friends or her invisible friends, she's figured out that she can get treats from Mom because Mom doesn't want her to be, you know, getting in the way. And so she digs at my pants, bites at my pants, scratches at me, and basically annoys me until I give her a treat. So she's got me trained really, really, really well. All right, so now we're at this stage, and you're thinking, okay, how are you going to cut that into the moon shape? So I'm going to flip this shibori over, and I'm going to start cutting, and I'm not going to cut right up to this corner just yet. I'm going to cut on this line, and I'm going to keep cutting on the line until I get to where my shibori is, and then I'm just going to cut wide and cut off. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep pulling the shibori out of the way and cut around my beads like I normally do, making sure I'm not cutting threads. And I'm just going to keep cutting in a circle. Now, we'll even that up a little bit from the back side. I just don't want to cut through threads. So what I'm doing is I'm just cutting the basic circle shape. And we will get in there a little bit. So when you flip it back over, I can see my threads, and then I can trim this nice and neat up against the edge of the beads. Okay, so that's what you're going to do on both sides. And so now I'm going to do the center. So now I'm going to start by rounding this. Again, I'm not going too close, and I'm going to flip my rounded scissors around so that they have a curve like this. And again, just going around, making sure I'm not cutting thread. I'm going to peel back my shibori, and I'm not cutting exactly close. I'm just getting the basic shape so that I have that, because what I don't want to do is cut any threads. So then I'm going to round my corners gently, and then I'm going to come in here and make sure I'm not trimming my threads, and just keep cutting as close to the beads as I can, pulling that shibori out of the way so I don't cut it. And I'm just taking little bits off at a time. Now, you may have to do several passes at this, but it's better to take little bits off at a time and continue on, little at a time, than to cut a big thread or cut something and have it peel off. Now, to get where the shibori is, now there's not a lot of thread there. I need to get in there and get right up to that line. So I'm just going to bend this a little bit and get as close to the line as I can get. I'm going to flip it over. I've got a thread there, so I can't cut too close there. And I'm just going to cut in and make sure I'm not cutting any bead threads. And so I can still see felt there. I do have a little tiny bit of room to play, not much. So I'm just going to end there. And what I think I may do is take some, if I see some white, and I do see some white on this one, I may take some of that blue paint before I actually finish this off in the next part. After this dries, I may take some blue paint and paint the edges so that I don't see anything but blue in there. So I'll just take a look, and I'll do that on camera with you. So now you're thinking, how in the world are you going to get this shibori to lay where you need it to? So I'm going to take this big piece here, and I'm going to fold it over. So this is the tricky part, is making sure you get this folded over the way you want it. And I do want this kind of bunched in a certain way. And I'm just going to fold it over and just test where it lays, just to see if I'm liking the way I'm folding it over. Once I get it to where I think I want it, I'm going to take some silicone glue. Now, this is not your normal E6000, which I will be using to adhere it to the suede. I'm using this because it's a little softer and it dries pretty quickly. And I'm just going to put a little silicone on the back of that. Now, I'm not going to be sewing through this shibori, so I don't necessarily have to worry about the end. And I'm just going to fold it over, and I'm going to pinch it down where the glue is, and I'm going to hold it. Now I've got an end here that's still sticking up, and that's fine. We'll get that. I'm going to put a little clip on there at the moment, and I'm going to take a little more glue, and I'm going to put a little drop of glue right there. Now, this is also going to seal in some of your threads when you do this. And I'm going to take a pair of tweezers, and I'm just going to hold this down right where I want it. And just hold that there for a second or two so that it gets some glue on it. And then with this, I am going to just take my clip and I'm going to clip it. Now, if you're like, this clip is not the greatest size, it's a little bit bigger. I'm getting in there on an angle, and I'm not worried about the clip gluing down either. So we're just going to tuck that end in and let that glue down. Now this side is kind of big, and you're like, well, you need to bunch it up. There's a little trick to this. So I'm going to take my needle and my scrap thread, and I'm just going to gather the pleats with my needle, which is what I did on the other one. And I'll show you, I'm not going to do it completely because I do have to put some glue down, but I'm going to show you what I did. And I will need to get another clip. So I'm taking my thread, and when I pull it tight, it's going to gather that so it's perfectly around the, it lays perfectly around the curve. So now it looks like it's water falling over the back side. So before I tie this knot, I'm going to take some of my silicone glue, and I am just going to lay a nice glob of it right there because I do want this to stay down. And then I am going to pull this tight and literally tie a knot in the thread. That's all I'm going to do is just tie a knot. And when I tie a knot, it's going to tighten it down. And you don't want to tighten it too much. You want it tight, but you don't want it so tight that it's going to like curve your piece. And then I'm just going to tie an additional tie there just to hold it. And then you can cut this thread off. It doesn't really matter. We don't care about it. And then because it's not sticking down quite yet, as you can see, I just pushed it down. Again, you can grab a clip, and I'm going to grab a bigger one. And I'm just going to pinch it down. That's all I'm going to do. And so I'm going to let this dry for 3-4 hours, and that should be perfect. And then if I see, like here where I see the white, I can come back in, and if need be, I can do some additional trimming. So like right here on this, I see a little bump. I can do some additional trimming. Now, I don't have to do this. I'm going to because I want to. I see the, and I'm just looking for the paint that I used on this. I see some white. I don't want to see some white. So I've got my iridescent paint here. I'm just going to shake it up. Now, you have to be extremely careful when you're doing this. Use a small brush and just a tiny bit of paint. I don't know if you can see that, but there's just a tiny bit of paint on the tip of that. And all I'm going to do is just brush right along the edge there. Just to kind of make sure that I don't see any white around my beads. And I'm going underneath my beads, but I'm not touching the bead. So you've got to be very delicate. You've got to be very careful. And whatever you do, do not touch your shibori with this because it will stick. And then your shibori will have blue paint on it. Now, if you want your shibori to be blue with blue paint, then go for it. You know, if that's the look you're going for. But I want this just to look like the blue, and I'm going to do part of it on the interior and on camera, and then I will do the rest off camera because you don't need to see me painting this the entire way. So I'm just getting my brush in just underneath, very little bit of paint. and getting the sides and the edges. Now, alternately, you could paint a red, like, so I drew the line and painted, and you could do it so it's a little wider than your design, but I like to have lines to bead on, which is why I do my painting exactly where I need it to be. And as you can see, it kind of changes the dynamic, and this will dry a little darker. Because now I can see that blue around there instead of the white. And being an iridescent blue, I think it goes well with the theme. And so I'm just getting the edge as well, so that when I put my seed beads on, my edge looks finished as well. And then I'm going to set this aside to dry. So we might as well just do the whole thing while we're on camera. And then I'll set these aside to dry, and I'll come back when I've painted and dried the other side. And we will bead the, like, I'll show you how to start and stop the edging and how to go around, because that you're not going to have any beads on this. And so you're going to have to do something to finish off your Shibori, your suede, but you don't want to have it so that there's a gap there that might come apart. So I will show you how to take care of that. We're going to do it with glue. And we're going to go right up to the edge with the glue. So there you go. All right. So that's looking good. Now I've got it so that my edges are all blue, mostly. And again, I want to do the edge so that when I'm doing my beading in here, and I don't care if I get the back a little bit, and there we go. Nice. All right. So now I've done that. I'm going to set this aside somewhere to dry, somewhere where I'm not worried about it hurting anything. And then we will let this dry, and we'll do the same. I'll do the same thing to this. And then when this is dry in an hour or so, 2 hours, we'll come back and I will show you with the other one how to bead the edging and how to, I will already have glued on my blue, and I think it's going to look gorgeous on the back side. This blue, I think it accents it really well, which is also why I wanted, and I did cut my thread. I just saw that here. I'm missing a bead. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my paintbrush down. If you cut a thread like I did here, you're going to need to pick up some thread, and I've got a little bit here so I can use this. You're going to need to go up through somewhere in your piece and go back down through. We're going to have to make a knot, because otherwise this is going to come apart. And so we are going to tie a knot, and you don't have to have a huge piece. So this is perfect. I made a mistake when I cut. And so I'm going to come up through my edging, because that's where it is. It's on the edging. And I'm going to go through all of those beads. And I'm going to pick up a moonstone, which was what was on the edge there. I'm going to grab a new moonstone because I don't know where the other one went. So if you do cut a thread, you can fix it after you've cut. And then I'm just going to go back down right through the tip there. And I'm going to pull it tight. I'm going to come up through the side there where that bead is turning, and I'm going to go back through a bunch of beads there like that and pull it tight. I'm going to go back down through my felt and pull it tight. I'm going to come back up in a different spot, and I'm just going to do this a couple of times, securing those beads just to make sure that I've got at least 2 passes through. So I went through, oopsie, and having clips on there is not the most ideal, but I have my 2 threads. I'm going to come back through this one without going through the felt. And then I'm going to go back down through the felt and secure it. And then I'm back to where I have my first knot. I'm just going to tie this in a knot and then cut it off. So just be careful. Normally when I'm working with white thread on white felt, I will paint my threads so I can see them. I didn't do that this time, and I managed to cut the thread of the bead. So, and when I say coloring your threads, painting your threads, take a Sharpie, and you've seen me do this before, because if you paint the threads, they kind of shine a little bit. So you can see, even though I'm painting the back of this, I can see now that I have threads that when I hold it to the light, they kind of shine just a little bit. And so I can see where my threads are and know that, hey, I can cut right there. But if I go over too far, and here's another thread, you know, I go too far, there's a thread right there. There's a thread right there. So yeah, so if you're, you know, not careful, you will cut your threads like I did. But again, I just fixed it. Now it's fixed there. It's nice and tight. I can now cut these threads down and just make sure when I put my backing on that they are hidden. I tend to go back through and trim as much as I can. Any threads that are sticking up, like this guy is sticking up, but I can just snip. And so he's right at the edge. So yeah, so just be careful that you don't do that, because that's, you know, if you cut it and you don't realize it, it'll, even though you glue it, it will slowly unravel. And now that I've done that, I can come back now and do some more trimming on this, because now I can see my beads. So now there's a little bit less white there. I'm going to take these off at the moment, and there's, like, that's still sticking up, but that I can tuck down with some more glue here in a minute. I'm going to lift this up. That's nice and glued. I think I'm going to try avoiding this blue thread to trim just a little bit more white right here, like that, just because that is way too much white for me, too much backing that I can see. That's better. And I didn't trim any threads there. Good. So I'm going to show you how to fix that Shibori here in a minute. Now that one's kind of square there. So I am going to just again bend, and I'm just very, very minorly nipping. So if you have something sticking up like this in your Shibori because it didn't fold over quite nicely, again, just take a little more silicone glue or whatever glue you're using. If you're using E6000, just be forewarned that E6000 does get hard and you cannot put your any thread through it. You'll break your needle. I've broken many needles doing that. And I'm just going to take my tweezers and I'm just going to hold this down where I want it and try to get some of that glue to ooze or seep in all the way through the layers. And see if clipping that now will hold it down. Now this side is pretty, it's pretty well dry. And actually, well, yeah, that's still wet. This silicone glue, and that's why I like it, it dries pretty quickly. You know, I mean, it's silicone, so, and it's clear. It doesn't really tell you what the working time is on it, but it dries pretty quickly. So it's just silicone glue, liquid silicone. And see, there we go. So that's down nice and tight. And I do have a little spot right there, but I can put a bead right there. So now I'm going to take my paintbrush now that I've gotten this done, and I'm going to paint this. I'm going to do that off camera, but when we come back, we're going to do the edging, and I will show you how to do the edging, and this is this side, and then we're going to add some stars as dangles in the center here. So so my earring is going to have 3 interior stars hanging from it, and a 4th one, and possibly a 5th one. I haven't decided. I've got to find the rest of my stars that I set aside somewhere, or not. Or do I not have stars? Well, I got to find them. I set them aside, and I've got a mess on my workstation right now because I got a bunch of supplies in that have not gone away yet. And anyways, we're going to have at least a couple stars, you know, maybe 2. Maybe we'll just do 2 if I don't have enough, but we will do stars and I'll show you how to get them to hang inside the earring. So anyways, I'm going to pause you. I'm going to paint this, and I will be back for you in just a minute. For me, it's probably going to be a few hours. So I will see you in a minute. Hi guys. So as you can see, I'm back. I've cut out and I've glued on to the back everything, and I've cut out. And so this is glued as close to the edge as I can get. And so what I did, and I've got one here has been finished. I made sure just to cut around and try to cut as evenly as you possibly can in a nice circle around, so that you're right up. So when you get to the shibori to cut, so what you don't want to do is you don't want to be seeing shibori. So I've got some left here in this corner. So what I need to do is I'm going to just trim behind the front so that suede is behind. Now there's a little gap there. We'll fill that in with some glue when I'm done beading, and we'll clip it off. Here I glued up a little too close to the edge, so I'm just going to have to live with that being that close. You know, if you've got some space, go ahead and trim. If not, and try to get it even. So I've got a little bump there that's going to bug me. There, that's nice, and at least it's nice and straight. All right, so that way you don't see, at least around the shibori, I don't see any of the backing. So now I've played with the other earring, and I'll show you that here in a minute, and decided after trial and error with copper beads, with these blue beads, with different various beads, I'm going with these blue silver lined. And so this is where it's different from my normal shibori, where normally I'll start out and I'll start in a spot and I'll pick up 2 beads and I'll go all the way around the piece. We're not going to do that because I don't want that shibori to have beads around it. I want it to look like it flows over the edge and just disappears behind. So when you look at it, it's just it disappears. It disappears in back. It disappears on the side, and when you flip it over, it just disappears. So what we're going to do is we're going to start, and it doesn't matter where you start, on the inner edge or on the outer edge. We are going to find a spot with a hole. So that one's doesn't have a big hole. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and see if I've got a space here. And I've got some glue. I've got some glue there that I'm just going to pick off because I don't want glue sticking out there. And I'm going to try to get my needle in between, and if I have to go down here, that's fine. I can go down here on a diagonal and come up through. I'm just trying to bury my knot at this point. So I just came up through right about where I want to start beading. Okay, so now my knot is buried. It's way in there somewhere. That's going to get filled in with some glue. I'm picking up just one bead. And the reason why we're doing this is because I am going to go down exactly where that bead is. And I'm going to come through everything. And this may be tough because I've got glue there. And I am starting on the shibori, or right on the edge of the shibori, so that I'm kind of covering that one spot. And so now my bead is lying sideways. I'm just going to go up through whatever side is closest to the front. So that's going to lift it up, and it's going to start it. Now it's going to be on a diagonal, but when we add the next bead, it'll stand up. And that's how you're going to start it. So now you've got your first bead locked in place. I'm going to go and do the next one, and I'm going to do that really close here to that first bead. So this is going to lock it in place. And I'm going to pick up that bead, if I can get my needle in through. And I'm just going to pick up the bead. And I keep hitting my light because I was trying to thread needles earlier. And it is going to turn a little bit, and that's fine. It's just the way it goes when you start. I've not found a way to not get it to do that. And so I'm just going to continue on beading like I normally would. And so when you're doing curved things like this, I'm going to warn you, you're going to get snagged on a lot of things. Now, one of the things that I also did, if you'll notice, I'm doing double threads here. And the reason for that is that I tried my fire line, my white fire line, my black fire line. So off camera, I was trying the different color threads, and I didn't see any that I liked that wouldn't stand out. Like, I could use black with this, but I could see the black just a little bit. So I decided to use the blue thread that I used to sew the shibori on, and this is just nylon or polyester embroidery thread. So rather than do just a single thread, I'm doubling it up just for security purposes because I don't want this to come apart, and nylon thread is a little softer than beading thread or fireline. So, I mean, you can definitely, so if you're just starting out and you're making stuff, you can definitely use just embroidery thread. I wouldn't recommend just plain cotton thread. That is definitely too fragile to do beading with, especially with bicones and crystals, because they have sharp points on the interior and they will slice your thread. And I've had things just get sliced right through. Polyester, nylon, some of the more sturdier threads, because embroidery thread is pretty sturdy. So you can definitely use that. I could have used clear here as well, but that would have been really difficult to see, and and not. So I wanted to make sure that, it wasn't super hard. And so the only challenge with double threads is they do get tangled, they do get wrapped around things. And, so it's a little bit of a challenge, but it looks good in the end. So I am going to pause you. I'm going to continue on and I'll show you how we're going to finish this side. Actually, I'm going to finish this side. I'm going to do this side and then show you how I finish off. So I will be right back.